Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another breakdown video. This time, I wanted to take a look at Chechnya's legendary TikTok battalion. That's right, guys. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. You probably know my whole intro spiel, but what I wanted to do is take a look at some footage from the Ukraine war that's released by the Russian Ministry of Defense, and we are going to try to get a bead on whether or not this is staged, right? And we're going to take our best guess. Obviously, if I think there's a possibility it's staged, you know the chances of there being anything grisly are basically zero. And I've pre-screened this, but there is some firearms going off, so you're going to want to, if you're not comfortable with that, tune out now. Anyway, guys, this is from our friends at War Leaks, Ukraine War, Russian BTR-82 in urban combat during battle for Mariupol. I think that's probably the title they released. So this is our BTR system. It looks a little like the U.S. Army Striker. Okay, so you can see right here, let's start at the beginning. This thing has, well, it drove straight up, didn't appear to have to pivot its turret much, and immediately engaged the targets. Now, it's possible they're doing what I've seen the Ukrainian military do in one of their BTRs, where they actually operate almost like a light infantry. They pop around a corner, engage a target, and then disappear again. So it's possible that that's what we're looking at, right? Now, right here, this is actually a pretty believable sequence. And it talks about featuring Chechen and separatist infantry working together with Russian Marines backed by armored vehicles. So why do I think this particular scene is probably at least realistic? Why? Well, it's because basically these guys are behind cover as though there is actually a threat to the, in this case, right of our screen. You can see these guys are kind of looking over the wall. This guy is a lot more casual, but again, it's not the end of the world. And then you have this guy out here who's kind of like squatted down. He's respecting the fact that there could be hostiles there. I think these guys are maybe a little casual if there really is a possibility that out in like the window of a building, there's a sniper or someone with an RPG, but they're more or less arrayed appropriately for the threat. Okay, so it talks about, it talks about the BTR doing shoot and scoot, right? In, out, pop in, fire rounds, withdraw. So now what's interesting is that the BTR is out in the open. It's fully exposed and it's just sort of putting rounds into these targets. Now, there is in the U.S. military doctrine, we generally just won't pump rounds into targets superfluously. We'll usually do so to eliminate a threat, especially if there's a possibility of civilians, right? We try not to put rounds needlessly into civilian areas. That said, there is occasions where you want to have suppressive fire, and usually that's when other troops are maneuvering. What's interesting here is, first off, that this is really exposed, but it doesn't appear that there's troops supporting this maneuver. Okay, this almost looks like a similar sequence. Okay, what's also interesting is that there's another BTR already exposed out here. So again, it's not clear on why the other BTRs had to do the shoot and scoot if there's already exposed armor. This almost looks like the same instance from another angle. Okay, so here's what's interesting is that this is the exact same angle, and the threat appears to be from a different direction. Now you have a BTR out here putting rounds away from the cameraman. And you can see these guys here. This is some strange positioning choices. You can see he's actually got the BTR. He's lining up he's lining up his sights as though he's aiming for his friendly armor, right? And he's not behind any cover at all. Like no cover whatsoever. This guy is literally just standing in the open, in direct line of sight of what appears to be a threat, or what's being treated as a threat. So why this guy's going to shoot over his own BTRs, and you guys can see as well as I can, you can't really see the threat. Now, again, if you want to suppress an area, you don't necessarily have to have a perfect line of sight. You can put rounds in the general direction of the enemy. That said, you don't want to create this level of risk of friendly fire by having your friendlies between you and your target, and then you start shooting at them. Now, it's possible he's supposed to be security, but if you were trying to secure an area, you have the BTR facing forward, so then you're going to look to the left and right to screen against, say, the approach of infantry. Right? This guy seems to believe that there's some sort of meaningful threat, and this guy doesn't. That's what's sort of bizarre to me about this. And this is a lot of fire they're putting down for, especially in response to an unclear threat. Again, this isn't an alarming amount of fire or even suppression. What's strange is that the infantry is doing nothing, right? Shout out to the fact that they've watermarked this RT as big as possible. That tells you that whether it's real or fake, it's obviously approved by the Russian government. Okay, see, now they're maneuvering, but not under fire. You can also see they're all sort of facing the same direction, which, again, maybe if the BTRs have already secured this area, you don't need 360 security. You don't need someone looking to the 3 and to the 9. Okay, so this is a random old woman walking around this completely destroyed area. And obviously, for propaganda purposes, it shows them nicely escorting this old woman back to her apartment building. Guys, I'm here to tell you, do any of these apartment buildings look livable to you? It looks like every single person has vacated this area. So why this old woman was carrying what looks like groceries? What is this, right? There's no grocery store here. This is a random old lady, right, who apparently is they've stopped the engagement to escort her back. Where exactly? Right, and it talks about it. A lot of people mock Russian forces for scenes like this because the propaganda values such pictures have. And it's a reference to the fact that this is so obviously staged. Moments ago, this was an area of combat, or actually we don't know the chronology, right? It appears to be cut in after the fact, but they're trying to escort this woman back, even though it's obvious that this building she lives in literally has had a gigantic fire burn out what looks like the entire top floor. Every single window has been blown out. It looks like a missile strike has taken it out. There's no way she still lives here. There's no way anyone still lives here. Right, they're like bringing in this vehicle to what, like protect the old lady? Yeah, and you can see here's a truck that's been looted, cars that have been left opened up, probably picked through. Okay, here's the other thing, right? We've got another moment where the BTR comes in now that the old lady's safe and starts engaging targets. But look, the BTR is facing to its 12 o'clock. So is this guy. So what is the threat that the BTR is putting rounds into? And why does this person seem to not believe this is a threat at all? This is one of the most telling things, that at least this sequence is completely staged, right? This is, and it talks about it here. The accusation made by pro-Russian observers, the Syrian civil war regarding a lot of rebel forces, talking about staging combat footage. I mean, again, the guy who's just so casual in front of the BTR as it's engaging. Remember, BTRs, they're not really indirect fire weapons, so they can't go over an obstacle, right? They're going to be shooting straight. So if it's shooting at a target, that means that target has line of sight on the BTR, and presumably line of sight on this other guy who's standing there casually. Right. This is just not. Yeah, that is. You can see it's very close. It's inside of small arms range. You wouldn't have dismounts in front of. You would have it in. You could have dismounts in front of a BTR like this, but they would be behind cover. They would be arrayed in some way to protect themselves, treating it as though there was really a threat. Because obviously, this thing is pumping rounds into whatever that is. Right, one Chechen dude who's like, yeah. But again, let's see. Let's back up this excited Chechen man who has what looks like an AK-74. Right, let's back this up here. Let's try to catch. Let's see if we can learn something about everyone else here. Yep, there's Red Backpack Man, also still very casual. Let's back it up further. Yeah, you can see actually, it looks as though this is almost shot on a base. Like, this looks like a Russian military Connex. This looks like a Russian military vehicle. This looks like it's a fully secured area. Okay, wait. Let's see if we can take it back a couple seconds. And there's our BTR. It's firing. It's firing. And my... Okay, here we go. Here we go. So yeah, you have 3 guys here. Not one of them appears to have a combat posture. Again, I've seen it from the other videos we've seen, the Russian military sometimes can get pretty lax with its combat posture, or at least its small units. But let's see if we can see what else is there. Yeah, I'm seeing, look, Russian military non-combat vehicles are already pulled up here. You know, you've got obviously those supply trucks. Every building is burned out. No civilians in the area. Yeah, look, there's an open military Connex. 3 guys standing around casually. What looks like maybe even and then here's a Russian military vehicle with no real combat posture to be seen. And one guy who's giving a thumbs up. Oh yeah, look, this vehicle's actually has a flat tire. So again, this tells me that this is filmed in some sort of secure staging area. Yeah. So, guys, I'm going to say that statistically, it is very probable that what we are looking at here is, in all likelihood, just staged. At least the second part of that video, I would say I am 90%, 95% certain was staged in an already secure Russian area, probably a forward area that had been secured already and was being, you know, that they had the BTR just sort of doing routine security operations. I would say the previous part of the video, I would put at about an 75% likelihood that it's certain, just based on the sort of strange posture of the dismounted infantry and the sort of strange dichotomy between some of the BTRs that were parked and not engaging targets, whereas this other BTR was doing a shoot and scoot. I love that term, by the way. That was just sort of acting as though there was a persistent, credible threat when you could see friendly armor already in that line of sight. So anyway, guys, I hope that gave you guys some insight into what's going on. That, you know, the truth is a lot of this stuff is propaganda. Now, propaganda doesn't mean that it's necessarily fake, it just means it's cherry picked to align with a certain message. The best propaganda is true, it just doesn't have to represent the larger reality, right? Just like if you wanted to, you could probably cherry pick nothing but footage of the Russian military shooting things and flying helicopters and dropping bombs, and you could create a narrative that Russia was winning. That's what they're doing, right? And so bear that in mind, that dramatic videos or talking points being repeated again and again is not a good proxy for the true reality on the ground of a situation. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me on this episode, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.